Can we see me? All right, good. Hey, look, I'm gonna do something a little bit different today. Here I am, Mr. Robinson here, another day of Mr. Robinson lecture series. You guys, so I'm back. Hey, you're welcome. But let's see if I can work this out. All right, I'm hoping you guys will try something different here today. All right, I'm going to put an assignment on haiku here as well as this video, which I'll put on YouTube as well for you guys to look at and view. Okay, we're going to go back through the criminal court procedures today. All right. So as I always do, there are two things I came here to do. All right. Chewing gum was one of them, but I just spit my gum out. So hey, here we go. Work day. Now listen. I'm going to go through again. I went through some of this in the last lecture as far as the criminal court procedures. We'll go through it again. And how is the nature of the judicial process different in a criminal court procedure than a civil court procedure where there are a lot of differences? All right. We're going to look at civil court and the procedure with that tomorrow. But for now, we have the criminal court. So criminal procedures. One, the very first, this is where it starts at. All right. Learning just started in here, okay, but this is where the criminal court procedure starts, is with the arrest. So with the arrest, all right, police are going to basically, you've seen cops before probably, so you know what it is. They arrest and then they book the suspect, all right, so that's where it starts. You have a preliminary hearing, all right, the suspect, he's going to go in and appear before the judge, and he's read some of the charges against him, or her. Okay, I mean, let's be honest, women commit crimes too, but I'm just saying him for these purposes. The bail is set. Now, what is bail? Well, bail is it's an amount of money a person would have to pay before they could leave the jail until they go to their trial. All right. So that's where the bail is. Now, it's normally they only normally pay a percentage of the amount. Okay, like maybe 10%, and then that's where you have bail bond companies, which will put up the rest for them. But that's where at preliminary hearing, bail is set, suspect appears before the judge. All right, at an indictment. Okay, this is what students always have a hard time understanding is a grand jury versus a jury trial, a trial jury. All right, grand jury, they will hear the evidence. All right, if there's enough evidence against the suspect for them to be deemed worthy of a trial, all right, then in that case, the suspect will formally be charged. All right, so that's a grand jury at the indictment stage. The arraignment, okay, the arraignment is where there's a plea that goes on. Now, in the activity here, I'm going to get you, I'm going to have you do, I want you to, at the arraignment stage, they plead not guilty, all right, because I know what students will always say, well, can't we just have my suspect plead guilty and then it be over with? No, we're going through this whole process in the activity I'm going to have you do. But at the arraignment, they can plead guilty or they can plead not guilty. If they plead not guilty, then the process is going to keep going. It's going to keep going. All right. Sorry, I was in speech therapy for a long time. Sometimes I stutter over my words. It's not because I'm nervous. Trust me that. Trust me on that. I don't get nervous. All right. I don't get tired either. But if they plead not guilty, the trial's set. Okay. They set the trial. They are assigned a public defender. Remember that when you read your rights, all right, if you cannot afford a public defender or an attorney, you will be given one by the state. That's what a public defender is. It's basically in a sense a lawyer for that suspect if they can't afford a lawyer. Now, with this, all right, So I got to be careful not to touch the screen there because remember my computer's touch screen. I just want to make sure you guys know that. But a public defender is not. You guys know the O.J. Simpson case. All right. Had he been assigned a public defender, I'm just going to go ahead and speculate. There's probably a good chance he would not have been found not that he would have been found guilty if he was given a public defender. Okay, so as the more money you have, the more you can pay a lawyer and get the higher price, the better lawyers. In a sense, I'm not saying public defenders are bad because they're not, but they're not the most accomplished lawyers. All right. So, but you're given a public defender if you cannot afford one, if you cannot afford an attorney yourself. Now, if they plead guilty, all right, that's when the plea bargain enters in. Well, why do people plead guilty? Because they will get a reduced sentence if they plead guilty. But then the rest of the process is essentially over with if they plead guilty. So they don't go to trial with a guilty plea. Now, not guilty, all right. If they when they plead that, you have a prosecution, okay, which is basically it's the state that's prosecuting the criminal or the criminal defendant, and then they have their defense team. All right, they present their cases. The jury, remember, the jury is supposed to be impartial. All right, and I'm not supposed to be touching my face, okay, because of the whole coronavirus thing. But I've been self quarantined, all right, mostly in this classroom, all right, because hey, that's what I do. I teach. But the jury, so all right, well, you're staying in here, okay? The bell just rang, but you're still staying in here, still get some learning going on. The jury, when they review the evidence that the prosecution and defense present, and then they will reach their decision. All right. Remember, the Fifth Amendment allows for the defendant he or she does not have to testify in the case. Okay, so when you go forward and do the assignment here, which I'm going to go over, you keep that in mind. All right, the jury will reach a decision based on the evidence presented. All right, so acquittal means basically, hey, you didn't do it. O.J. Simpson, not guilty. That's acquittal. They can go free. Now, sentencing is if you're found guilty. Okay, well, you're found guilty. Now there's a price to pay now. All right, that's what the sentencing is. The sentencing hearing is set at that point. So the person who's found guilty, they come back later, and then they are going to have to pay for their crime, beginning with that sentencing hearing. All right, this is the assignment, okay? Now, I want you to use this video as well as the criminal court procedure PowerPoint that I put online. Okay, you can use the lecture from the other day, but I'm hoping this one that you can't see as much of me in this one, but you can see the slides as I'm going over. All right, so we got that going on. You write a story. All right, it needs to be at least 2 paragraphs. Okay, this is going to be due tomorrow. Well, I may make it due Thursday. I'm not trying to overload you guys with work here, but it needs to be about a committal to acquittal. All right. Anyways, from write a story about Bob. Okay. Now I want you to write a story as he goes through a trial where Bob he gets arrested. Okay. Then he gets booked. All right. Their bail is set. All these things. You can pick the crime that he does. It goes through a trial. The jury hears a trial. You can have him testify if you want him to testify. You need to talk a little bit about the defense and the prosecution and them presenting their evidence for the respective sides. You can even talk about, if you want, the jury selection. So I went over this in the last lecture the other day, but remember, jury selection is you want to get, if you're the defense, someone who is likely to vote, who will likely side with your suspect. All right. So for if I was convicted or not convicted, but if they said I did a crime, all right, well, if you got a bunch of other people like me, in other maybe words, maybe North Carolina Tar Heel fans or something, people that are like me, they may be more likely to acquit me of the crime. So you can talk about jury selection some in the trial as well. And then at the end, though, the person gets acquitted, or I'll even allow you they can get convicted as well, and then it will go to a sentencing phase. All right. So I'll put the instructions. I'll email them along with this video here to maybe help you understand this. Okay. So I'm giving you a couple days here to do it. Now remember though, to whom much is given, what? To whom much is given, much is expected. All right. I'm giving you some good knowledge here. So I'm expecting you guys to put together some good stuff as well. All right.